Today is April 1st, 2022. 25 years ago, a certain show premiered in TV networks all across Japan, causing a worldwide phenomenon that we came to grow up to know as Pokemon. Instantly, everybody loved Pokemon, from here in America to all around the nation and around the world. And in spite of its controversies throughout these many years, it still stays strong to becoming one of the greatest animes of all times, spawning numerous series, various anime movies, and of course, spawning lifetime friendships that we have grown to love each and every day. That's right, Trey. I forgive you about the $5. But regardless, today we celebrate 25 years of Pokemon. So hello everybody, my name is Gaga Master, and I can't believe it's been a long time since I said that in a video. Jesus Christ, what the living fuck. Sorry about that. I'm just really excited to finally be doing videos again. But regardless, let's get on to the video topic. So, you all may be wondering what the video topic for me that I have for this big day is. Well, after thinking for a long time, I finally decided that I will be going through each season and talking about the biggest emotional episodes. What I mean by this is that we're going to be talking about an episode in each Pokemon season or arc or season, whatever you want to call it, and basically going over one specific episode that had the most emotional moments. We're not talking about battles, we're not talking about how cool it looked, we're talking about how impactful that episode was to me and to potentially most of you all as well. So let me know in the comments below which episode you thought was the most emotional in each season. Before I begin, I feel like I should talk about a little ground rules before we get into the topic. So what I mean by this is that when I was doing the research, Cerebi has split a few arcs in different, specifically the Orange Islands and the Battle Frontier arcs. So, and to make sure they all have fair game, I decided to rip out each episode that's emotional in those specific sagas. I will also only talk about one in each arc. So, for example, if I talk about the Bye Bye Butterfree episode, I can't talk about the No Way Out episode, or Snow Way Out. I forgot that's what they actually called. My bad. Of course, when I mean emotional episode, I am negating any gym battles or league fights that were emotional after the wrongdoing. So, for example, when Shota teared up after his fight with Ash, that doesn't really count for real because that's only a one moment. I'm talking about major episodes that had a very emotional send-off or a very emotional setting towards it. And one more thing, and I feel this one's obvious, is my opinion, of course. If you guys have an episode that you guys think it was emotional to you guys, let me know. Like I said before, let me know in the comments because I do love to hear feedback. I also love seeing what you guys' list is. Maybe you guys have a different episode I never thought of and would want to share it. So feel free to share in the comments. Alright, so let's get started with this video. Man, it feels weird to say it again. For the Kanto saga, I decided to talk about Go West Young Meowth. Go West Young Meowth actually has a special place in my heart because this is actually one of the second episode I've seen of the Pokemon anime as a whole. Back when I was a kid, I got the Game Boy video cartridge. Yeah, you remember that thing? And in that video cartridge, it had Beach Blackout Blastoise and Go West Young Meowth. Go West Young Meowth stuck out with me the most because we got to learn about Meowth and how the struggles he had to go through when he learned to talk, trying to impress a Meowsy, or the Meowsy that we would later on get referenced in Journeys. Meowsy, of course, doesn't care for much for Meowth and even calls him a walking, talking freak Meowth, which kind of hurts Meowth, of course. However, it's during these struggles how he wind up ending up with Team Rocket. In the flashbacks, though, we do see that Meowth had a harsh life, as he was a street cat and was wind up freaking leeched. Jesus Christ, this is a kid show, dang it. And after seeing some delicious goodies on the TV screen or movies projector on the park, he decides to go to Hollywood, which is around the same time that Ash and friends go to Hollywood to watch the movie. This is also where we learn why Meowth hates Persians so much, as he was part of a gang of Meowths who the gang leader was a Persian. However, the Persian winds up taking Meowsy and winds up becoming her girlfriend, I guess? I don't know. That episode was kind of odd. However, years later, though, we learned that Meowsy's owner had to abandon her because she was going to bankruptcy. Jesus Christ, I thought this was a kid's show. Anyways, after reuniting, Meowth and Persian have a standoff on a rooftop, and Meowth winds up winning. However, Meowsy goes to Persian. Meowsy decided to stay with Persia because it was the one to raise her and look after her after she was abandoned, and that she couldn't leave him after all what he's done for her. And also, he's still a walking, talking freak Meowth. That's her words, not mine. Well, Meowth's words. It really gets to me hard how Meowth, despite being treated this way, still thinks about her from time to time. Even the ending of the episode. The ending of the episode has Meowth looking up in the stars on a rooftop thinking where Meowsy is now. This really hits me hard because even though how she treats her, Meowth still cares about Meowsy, and I think that's really adorable despite what happened. So for the Kanto saga, this is the most emotional episode in my opinion. I gotta level with you guys. I couldn't find an emotional episode on the Orange Islands. It was so small, so it was hard. But I chose to go with this one, so forgive me. Charizard chills. Now, the reason I'm saying forgive me is because there is a battle, but the battle helps this episode though. So let's get going. The episode follows Ash meeting up a trainer who has just heard that he earned his 3rd badge in the Orange Islands. So he challenges him to a battle with his Poliwrath. Poliwrath beats Pikachu, so Ash decides to bring out Charizard against a water type. Gen 1 Ash. It's during this battle that Todd, yes, his name is Todd, I looked it up, winds up saying to Ash that he'll never be able to win in any battle if he doesn't know how to control Charizard. This leads Todd to use an Ice Beam attack, freezing Charizard. After this, Ash, Tracy, and Misty wind up doing their best to recover Charizard after he had suffered his very first loss. Keep in mind, this is Charizard's first official loss. The ending of Lee doesn't count, he was just lazy to fight. This is where we get to see that Ash really still cares about Charizard despite what went down. And although Charizard is rebellious at first, trying to flamethrower at Ash to no avail, Ash winds up talking to Charizard about all the times they had when there was a Charmander and Charmeleon, and then when he became a Charizard. This moment hits hard for Charizard because he realizes that Ash still cares about him despite what happens. And it's during these flashback moments where we get to see Charizard tear up and his flame starts igniting again. By next morning, Charizard has fully recovered and even helps Ash save Pikachu from Team Rocket and get the revenge win on Poliwrath. It was after this episode that Charizard has full respect for Ash, as he's now a Woody trainer, but also a Woody friend for Charizard as well. Later on, of course, in the Johto region, we will learn that Charizard would leave Ash to go train. However, Ash chose that decision for Charizard. Charizard wanted to, and it's up to Ash to make that decision. But we're gonna have myself. This is the Orange Island saga, not the Johto saga. Speaking of the Johto saga, known as the filler saga to many, to me, I call it redeemable because of this episode and this episode alone. Fly Me to the Moon. During the World Island saga, Ash, Brock, and Misty are traveling through the World Islands. I almost said Orange Islands, oh my goodness. Here, they wind up making it to Pudgy Pidgey Isle. Pudgy Pidgey Isle has Pudgy Pidgeys, hence the name. However, they meet this one Pidgey named Orville and his partner Wilbert. This is where they learn that Orville's biggest dream is to fly to the moon. Good luck with that, buddy. Good luck with that. Orville was inspired by a story about how a Pidgey flew all the way to the sun, and because of that, Orville wanted to fly unlike the other Pidgeys in the Isle. Orville learned to fly on its own, thanks to the help of Wilbert, of course. This of course inspires Team Rocket to go ahead and help out Wilbert, specifically Meowth, because he knows the struggles of trying to do something that seems impossible for most Pokemon, i.e. how he was able to learn how to talk. During this episode, we get to see the Team Rocket are truly trying to help out Orville for his dream. This is rare when we see Team Rocket helping Pokemon that's not just the benefit of them, but for the benefit of them themselves, specifically Meowth. It's during the third half of the episode I feel like it was really emotional, to me at least, because we get to see Orville make it across the stratosphere and out the atmosphere into like practically space. His wings are all frozen up, he's covered in snow, and he's having trouble breathing. Everyone's really worried about him, specifically Meowth. Orville wants to keep on going though, and that's very honorable, but also foolish at the same time because he's risking his life. Orville winds up crashing into the balloon, and thanks to how Pikachu's Thunderbolt and the answers that Meowth provided, Orville recovers and they land safely. This is where we get one of the most emotional Team Rocket moments ever, by the ending. In the end, Team Rocket do get blasted up, but unlike the usual comedic moments in the end, we see Meowth and Orville talking about how it was in the sky. This shows that Meowth truly cared about Orville's mission, and he was happy to be part of it. I love moments when we get to see Team Rocket other than just we gotta catch Pikachu or we gotta do this for the boss. This shows that they have other layers in their character than just those personas. If we're talking about emotional episodes in the Hoenn saga, Do I Hear Ross is definitely the episode I think of the most. The episode is about Ash and the others encountering an injured Ross and trying to take it to the Pokemon Center, but Team Rocket are trying to take it for their own reasons. This is an important episode for Max, as this isn't a Max-focused episode. Throughout the entire Advance series, many people argue that Max is probably one of the worst characters to ever come out of the Advance series, mostly because of his cockiness towards Ash and the others and how he's a know-it-all, and most people don't really like that for a little kid character. However, I feel like this episode really shows what Max can really do if he really does become a Pokemon trainer. He helps Ross out to get through tough jams, he commands Snorunt, he even saves Ross numerous times in this episode. And although it's unclear if this is canon or not, you could argue this is a massive development from when he had to say goodbye to Jirachi in the Jirachi movie. Because in that movie, he didn't want to say goodbye at all, but he knew he had to. In this episode, he knew he had to say goodbye to Ross, but at that meant it was no more emotional than it was then and there. What really hits me hard though is the promise that he and Ross made, that one day when he becomes a Pokemon trainer, he will go back and catch Ross. Ross states this to Max: "I'll wait for you, Max. I will always wait for you," showing that Ross will be waiting for it. And if anything else, I would not mind if Ross becomes Max's first Pokemon. I feel like this is definitely a moment that Max could have catch it or may catch it for Max for later on when he becomes a trainer, kind of like Clement and Bonnie. Similar to the Orange Islands, the Battle Frontier saga doesn't have that many emotional episodes I could really pull out of. However, I was able to find one that really stuck with me the most back when I was a kid and to this day. Sweet Baby James. Man, that sounds weird to say as an adult. Oh my god. Should have read the Japanese title. This episode follows James as Chimecho feels very ill. And because of this, James has to take it to his grandparents' house, or mansion, or castle, whatever you want to call it. And this is where we learn that James is still rich. Lucky son of a gun is rich. I keep forgetting he is. It's also around this time that May's Munchlax also gets sick too. However, James' grandparents also help them out with Munchlax. This is where May and Max learn about James and how he's basically rich, like I said before. We learn so much about James' character in this episode too, as this is actually his vacation home away from his stressful life as a young, standing up gentleman. There's also note to point out that during their time here, James does not mention he's in Team Rocket. He doesn't want to hurt his grandparents like that, and I really like that of James. This shows that James is still a caring person despite being with Team Rocket. He goes ahead and lies saying that he has a big company, Jessie is his secretary, and Meowth still mascot? Okay then. Interesting. We get a nice moment between Max and James one night when they're looking after the Pokemon, as they get a nice little moment. I like moments like this. Like I said before numerous times in this video, I really love this of Team Rocket whenever we get to see them outside of being Team Rocket. They're not Team Rocket here. They're human being characters who have emotional moments here and there. I also really love the fact that James will fight off Team Jessie and Meowth despite them promising not to hurt any of the Pokemon. He decides to fight them off anyways to make sure that his grandparents stay safe and the Pokemon that he grown to love. Unfortunately, Chimecho's illness isn't getting any better anytime soon, so James makes the unfortunate decision to keep Chimecho here for as long as it needs so he can get well again, because he doesn't want to take it out traveling because it could get worse. James knows that he has to do this, but the emotional goodbye isn't hard enough, as we get to see all the emotional moments in flashback mode as we get to see James and Chimecho. James loved Chimecho. This was a Pokemon that he wanted to catch as a kid when he once saw it back when he was younger. So seeing him say goodbye to it was really emotional. However, the payoff though was very nice though, as Mike Jr. decides to join James to cheer him up, as a nice way to saying you may have to say goodbye to one friend, but you said hello to another. James will also say to his grandparents that he's part of Team Rocket, to which he replied that they don't care that. They still love him and still consider him his grandson. I love this episode because it really shows that James really does come from a loving home, despite from his parents, his grandparents are his true parents. Now let's just hope they don't pull an Uncle Ben and Aunt May on us, because I cannot deal with that. Next up for Diamond Pearl, we have Noodles Ramen Off. That was an odd title, I'm gonna be honest. This is another Team Rocket up. God dang, there are really good emotional Team Rocket episodes. It's almost like the better emotional episodes than they are Team Rocket episodes. Anyways, this episode follows Team Rocket as they once again fail to catch Pikachu, and after reuniting with an old friend from Team Rocket HQ, a young guy who was voiced by Sean Shimmer of all people. Yeah, I recognized that voice instantly when I saw the episode. Anyways, we learned that this guy makes ramen. So good, in fact, that after having to deal with a hard day at Team Rocket's training camp, Team Rocket talked to him and states that there are other places other than Team Rocket, after treating him to noodles, of course. This is where he comes back home to Sinnoh and winds up making a big chain of noodle restaurants throughout all of Sinnoh. After this, Meowth winds up learning that he has a secret technique of making ramen noodles. And after being blamed for so many of their failures of trying to catch Pikachu over the years, Meowth has finally had enough and decides to quit Team Rocket and go pursue his noodles dreams. After this, James feels bad and questions how they're going to handle themselves without Meowth, to where Jessie states maybe it's time for us to split our ways, and thus so she could focus on becoming more of a top coordinator, as in Sinnoh she takes becoming a top coordinator, or a coordinator in general, more serious than she did at Hoenn. She even states to James that maybe it's time for you to settle down and marry that fiancé of yours, to which she rushly says goodbye, and James is on his own now. Because James is on his own, he decides to take on a mysterious mission to take on a shiny Metagross that people have rumored to have lived near a mountain area. However, it's said to be dangerous. Heck, it's even said that this Metagross has even killed some trainers after battling it out. James doesn't hear this talk though, as he immediately goes ahead and tries to catch the shiny Metagross. During all this, some bystanders talk about it, and Jessie overhears, so she decides to go help out, and later on Meowth. Meowth refuses to go help James, as he is split off from Team Rocket for good at this point. It's here that we see that both James and Jessie cannot handle themselves against Metagross, as it's just too powerful, and is about to kill him. This is one moment I think really hits hard to me. James and Jessie are about to get vaporized, but before that, Jessie states this: If there is life after this world, let's meet there, symbolizing that even in death, they will be together. This, of course, is big shipping fuel for those who are rocket shippers. I think that's the term of the ship. I don't know. Someone let me know in the comments. Maybe Polly? Anyways, Jessie and James are prepared for the demise until Meowth comes in and saves. This episode showcases just how much Team Rocket care about each other. And this will also be one of the last episodes I actually enjoyed, because after this, I stopped caring about Team Rocket, to be perfectly honest, after Diamond Pearl, simply because they kind of became too much for me at that point. However, this episode to me felt like a good way for me to enjoy Team Rocket one more time before they got really annoying. Oh my goodness, retire already. We're done with you. No more. Oh, best wishes, why are you always so hard to talk in a positive light nowadays? And by that I mean I couldn't find much emotional episodes that stuck with me the most, but I did find one, and I will admit I only seen this episode one time, but that one time stuck with me pretty hard, especially later in life. A Lonely Dino. This episode is about Ash and the others making it to a daycare center and volunteering to help out the daycare worker to look after all the Pokemon. Iris encounters a dino whose trainer left it there to go do some training along with 3 additional dinos. However, the two dinos trainers come back and pick them up, but the third one doesn't. Iris gets worried about this and wonders if it got abandoned or not. This is where we get to see emotional moments between Iris and Dino as they get to grow a bond closer and closer together. She even states that maybe you could come with me if your trainer doesn't show up to give you a new home. To give a little context of why this episode hit me hard, is because a few years after this episode aired, I grew to love the Hydreigon line, as it will become my favorite pseudo-legendary Pokemon. Hydreigon is really close to me in my heart because it's the first pseudo I ever raised. And you all know how hard it is to evolve a Dino to a Hydreigon, so I was proud of that achievement. So seeing this episode really hits me hard because it's a Pokemon that I really love. And I would not mind if Iris had caught it. This would be a nice addition to her team, aside from that overpowered Dragonite she would get, which wouldn't even win anything. I want to point out right now, that thing does not win anything aside from 2 wins that only got in zone. By the end of the episode, Dino's trainer does come back, and we do learn what happened to him, which in of its own is pretty sad what happened to him. He gets lost in Twist Mountain because of how narrow and maneuverous the cave is. However, he was able to come out and catch some new Pokemon so we can introduce him to Dino for some new friends. I really like the moment when he returned Dino into the Pokeball, and Dino looked back at Iris right as he was coming back inside. Iris really wanted to say goodbye, but she knew that Dino was more happier to be with his original trainer. This is definitely a nice take on the whole abandoned Pokemon, because it wasn't abandoned. It was just a big misunderstanding. That's why I would say this is probably one of Iris' most emotional episodes out there. You know, as much talk as people say that X and Y is too serious or too shonen, there were a lot of emotional episodes right there, so it was hard for me to choose one, but I decided to go with one that not many people really talk about for real. Mostly because most people, when they think of emotional episodes, they would usually think of the Esper episode, Serena's episode, or even the Clement death episode with Clembot. These are more emotional episodes, but the one I'm going to be talking about the most though is Bonnie and Tyrantrum. This was adorable and heartbreaking too. Bonnie encounters a Tyrantrum and saves it, and winds up getting so close to it. This thing was so adorable with Bonnie. Bonnie wore the Tyrantrum pajamas. This was just an adorable episode. Team Rocket tries to steal the Tyrant, but it evolves into Tyrantrum to save Bonnie. And then it came to the moment where Clement tries to catch it, and then Bonnie, then it got in the Pokemon. Okay, I'm good. So, after realizing that it already has its owner somewhere, we learned that Team Rocket stole it from a laboratory nearby, so they take it back. Once they give it back, Bonnie had to say goodbye to it, and the emotions of Bonnie having to say goodbye to this thing. She had to say goodbye to the baby, she had to say goodbye to Tyrantrum, and then she had to say goodbye to Zygo, which we don't talk about. But still, this episode really shows just how much Bonnie loves Pokemon, and how much mature she can handle emotional goodbyes. That's one of the reasons why Bonnie to me is probably one of the best characters in X and Y. She's just that incredible of a character to withstand emotions. I can't though. Oh boy, Sun and Moon. Your wackiness, your force of jokes, and your lack of action makes me question. Nah, I'm just kidding, y'all. There were some emotional episodes. I know everyone's thinking I'm going to talk about the big ones, like the Stoutland episode and Mal's mom. They were emotional, but they were kind of predictable, to be honest, though. Not saying they were bad episodes, but this episode, the episode I want to talk about, no one saw the ending outcome. Not me, not even Trey, when we first saw this episode. I'm putting this right now. When me and Trey saw this episode for the first time ever, or saw scans, and we were going to watch it, he had no enthusiasm for this episode at all. Until the ending. I was the one who told the boy, nah, let's watch it. We don't know what Sun and Moon's like. The Meteor episode. Oh my god, this episode. This was so heartbreaking. So Ash and friends go to the observatory to go meet with Sophocles' big bro Mo. Or Molane. His cousin Molane, I think. I can't remember his name. And while there, they encounter meteors. And Point befriends one meteor, and they have a good time. And to be fair, though, I will admit this, though, watching this episode, I was questioning myself, like, would this be a good episode, or would this just be like an episode when me and the boy saw it for the first time, and then that ending, when the meteor started disintegrating. This is where Poipro learned death for the first time ever. Now, I made trash talk Sun and Moon a lot about how carefree the storylines are, or how too friendly the characters are to one another. But this episode, to me, I feel like they handled death the best way ever. Death is inevitable. It's something we cannot avoid, no matter how hard we try. We can delay death, but we can never overcome it. This episode to me proved that sometimes things just have to happen because they have to. Ash wanted to do something, but he couldn't. Kukui just told him, this is just how life is. Poipo had to say goodbye to a friend. Everyone had an emotional send-off in this episode. This was just a really heartbreaking episode for Poipo and for everybody. And although it was heartbreaking to see the meteors disintegrate, I'm not gonna deny it. It looked beautiful, to be honest. Like, yeah, death can be beautiful too at some occasions, and this is a good example of that. Ah, boy. Yep, I gotta talk about you now. There was no emotional episodes I can think of from this series, I couldn't be honest with you all right now. But if there's one that had potential, I'm gonna talk about it. May beat it to a dead horse again, but screw it. Ghost only solo episode. That's what I call it. The episode where we learn about Tokyo. Now, I believe this episode had potential to be even more emotional if they have done one little thing. Axe the Tokyo boy. But they didn't. But regardless, I will admit it's somewhat emotional. Seeing Go having to relive those memories and reunite with Tokyo. Granted, Journey's End gave us the ending that I wanted to have seen with this godforsaken god. But regardless, seeing Go relive these memories and learning of why he's so introverted about trusting people in this episode really helps his character a bit more. And we do get to see him trying to recreate the memories, his backstory with Tokyo. My only gripe, and aside from the big gripe, my only gripe with the episode is the way it ended with Tokyo appearing out of pure nowhere. So that's my only flaw, to be honest. Like, if the episode had given us an additional episode for us to learn about Tokyo more, then I think this would have saved the episode to me. But regardless, it's an okay episode. That's all I can say. There we go, folks. Those are the most emotional episodes from each of the Pokemon anime series. Which one was your favorite? Which one do you think I should have talked about? And which one do you think deserves a top tier list? Because I would not mind doing a tier list of these episodes. The only reason I'm not going to do it is because I don't have time. But regardless, I was happy to be able to make this video in time for the 25th anniversary anime. So, happy anniversary to everybody. Let's all enjoy Pokemon for the time we have for many years to come, and hopefully we'll make it to the 30 tier. It's been an amazing ride for me here on YouTube, to be honest though. I started this channel long ago, back in the X and Y days, and seeing how I evolved from like that teenager now to the adult I am right now, it's incredible, to be honest. It's because of Pokemon I made so many amazing friends like Trey, the Media Nuts, Wrath, Zach, Zeno, Alex, so many amazing people I got to meet and collab with because of Pokemon. And although we dealt with controversies in the past, I am glad we were able to push through and make our community stronger because of those events. So with that being said, everyone, thank you all for being part of the channel and for being part of my life, to be honest, because honestly, I miss doing this. I miss doing the Poke Chat too. So one day, I will say this right now, Poke Chat will return one day this year. I don't know when, but it will return one day. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.